A lot of people have been saying in the comments in my most recent video that I'm keeping Dani locked up in the basement. So I had to open the curtains just so you could see that we're not living in a basement. And I know what you're thinking right now. Yes, that is a real balcony. Let me show you. Outside. Ugh. Anyway, if there are any other mysteries or what myths you'd like me to bust, if you want to turn this channel into a myth-busting channel, I guess I'm taking requests for next video. On the topic of today though, I want to talk about movies and TV shows because I'm getting really tired of... One second. Having to grab the remote the whole time while watching anything, basically. Oh, I can actually change the lens now here. Look at this. I figured out how the camera works. Now everything looks a lot bigger. But yeah, I'm getting really tired of having to grab for the remote because I'm just watching something, right? I'm just chilling in the bed, just eating my greasy pizza, and I'm just listening to the conversations, and I'm like...
Vietnam on our yacht. His
yacht. What did they say?
Shoes, watch.
I'm pulling it up a little bit more. I just can't hear what they're saying.
Husbands generally aren't okay with being cheated out of any of it.
Okay, that's better. Now I can hear it. I think you can see the topic of today's conversation. It's audio in movies and TV shows and why they're mixed so poorly, or why the conversations are most of the time so much more quiet than all the action scenes and the loud sound effects. The example that I just showed was from a movie called Tenet. Christopher Nolan made it. Me and him go way back, so no bad words about the guy, but the movie, the audio in it was just all over the place. I'll play back one of the conversations one more time and then add an action scene right after it, just so you can hear the difference in volume. And I want you to tell me, especially the headphone users, I want you to tell me that this is not going to be really annoying if you have to watch this for maybe like 2 hours in a row.
What do you want?
We're going to talk about today.
No, we're not.
No? We'll see.
It's pretty loud. The difference is fairly big. The audio here for the conversations is mixed at minus 30 decibels, and the sound effects are straight up 0 decibels. Now the decibel scale is actually logarithmic, and I'm not gonna go too sciencey on this because according to the decibel scale, these sounds would be so far apart that the sound effects would appear to be 1,000 times louder, because going 30 decibel up means that something is going to be 1,000 times louder. But obviously, the difference is not that extreme to the human ears, at least. So I'm not going to pull that as an argument. But the fact that these are mixed so far apart is creating a lot of inconveniences for me when I'm trying to just watch a movie. So I went into this, right? And I went looking, why is this the case? I can understand that if you're watching maybe a horror movie or a scary movie, sometimes what the directors do or the editors do, they have like these conversations, and then it's just a loud cut to a different scene, just to kind of like scare the audience. Or they just use a very loud sound to make a jump scare more crazy, I don't know, to make the audience jump a bit more. I personally don't like them, so I mean, I don't know anybody that really likes jump scares when going to the cinema, but I know that you could do those things to add some sort of impact to what you're trying to do. And I guess it's the same for movies, like action movies, like Tenet, where if the loudest sounds are so much louder than the not so loud sounds, like the conversations, then audiences will be more shook by what's happening. They'll be more blasted away.
What is going on?
I am shooketh.
Maybe if you go to the cinema, maybe you want that sort of experience. But even then, even when I'm at the cinema, recently I went to watch The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, really cheap horror movie.
We think whoever cursed David used this to draw the demon. And we'd like you to start mailing these out to every police department you can find. Start locally. And just find out if they've ever seen anything like this.
I don't know if it was cheap. I don't know. I didn't like it too much. And even there, some of the sound effects and some of the music was just way too loud. I was almost sitting in the cinema like this, like, please, why? I'm just trying to follow the movie. I can understand that they're trying to scare the audience, but it was just more annoying and it just pulled me out of the experience more than anything else. Maybe I'm just getting too old for this, but on the other hand, if I'm getting too old, my ears should also be declining, so I should be less sensitive to loud noises maybe. I don't really know how that works. I'm 26 right now, guys. I'm basically already in the coffin. Point being, I went to see that movie. Sound effects were still too loud. I downloaded the movie, pulled it up in Premiere, and even there, the sound waves of that movie are not as crazy far apart as they are in Tenet or in most action movies. I was actually surprised to see that the audio was pretty much level for a big part. So I can only imagine how deaf the people must have been after watching Tenet in the cinemas. Now I know what a lot of people are probably going to say. They're like, well, you know, you're watching this movie and of course an airplane is supposed to sound a lot louder than two people talking to each other in a restaurant. And I get that. Okay, differences in audio are completely fine. You want differences in volume. You don't want everything to just be a single monotone, just to not have your ears blasted out. But there's a way to do this right. And a movie that did this right, and maybe this is a bit of a bad example because the dialogue in this movie is not English, but a movie that did this right was Parasite. I felt that the audio was really well balanced in that movie. There are some louder parts towards the end. But even there, in those last tense scenes, they don't blast your ears away with loud drone noises, explosions, and just music that is highly compressed at 0 decibels just to get the maximum volume. And this is also, of course, because there aren't a lot of explosions in Parasite. It's a different type of movie. But if you look at the dialogue and how that's leveled, a lot of the dialogue in Parasite, except for maybe 1 or 2 scenes, is also mixed a lot higher up, like a lot more loud. So you can totally get away with putting the movie on a lower volume and still hear the conversations. Now, I say that with quotation marks because, of course, the movie is not English spoken. So I couldn't understand what they were saying, even if I had the volume all the way maxed out. So I had subtitles for that regardless.
가성이 캠핑용 우비 그것도 어디 찾아봐요.
One thing that's also easy to forget, that it's also not only about the pure volume of something, because the human ears, they perceive different frequencies in a different way. Like a high-pitched noise is gonna be a lot more sharp and a lot more annoying to listen to than a more bassy sound. But the thing is, when you have really loud music, it tends to feel a lot louder too, because music generally has a bit of everything. It has a lot of bass, a lot of midtones, a lot of higher pitched noises. So you could have someone talking at 0 decibels, which is probably what I'm sounding like right now, around that, like -3, -6 decibels. But then if I were to have music playing, and I'll play some music so you can hear the difference, at around that same decibel number, it would appear to be a lot louder because there's a lot more frequencies. Same thing applies to movies though. Even if these conversations were mixed all the way up, as I'll show here.
Where's your bargain? The drawing's an obvious fake.
My drawing's a very good fake.
The louder music and noises would still feel louder. So the fact that these two issues are stacked on top of each other just makes the viewing experience even more unpleasant. And I get that some of these movies are mixing specifically for cinemas with their super high-end stereo, not even stereo, like 7.1 sound systems, right? To where you can watch a movie and you can hear the conversations quite clearly, and then it's supposed to be this really nice experience when you have all this sound coming from all directions. Again, I personally don't agree with this. I'll end up sitting like this in the cinema waiting for the really loud stuff to be over just so I can follow along with the story. But I get the point. But then would it be so hard to have an audio mixed version that's a bit more compressed, has a bit less dynamic range for the average man just trying to watch a movie or a TV show on the TV? Do they really expect everybody to have a $10,000 audio setup just to have the best possible experience? Anyway, that was my rant. If there's anything you want to take away from this video, you know, in conclusion, is that the new Conjuring movie kind of sucks and you shouldn't go watch it. Thank you very much.
Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky.